running to Badlands. Explain those Badlands. That's a hell of a name.
Mr. Vice President, I'm going off script again, I know, but I just want to personally thank you. We've been through some stuff. We've gone through some of the most complex military operations this country's ever conducted, and your steady hand and your leadership during those was a great source of strength for me. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your character. Thank you for your selfless service. Thank you for commitment. Thank you for being a mentor to me, Mr. Vice President.
It's called the swamp. And you know what happened? And you know what I did? A big favor. I caught the swamp. I caught them all. Let's see what happens. Nobody else could have done that but me. I caught all of this corruption that was going on, and nobody else could have done it. Did I get that one right? Every 4 years, we gather on these steps to carry out the orderly and peaceful transfer of power. Today's ceremony, however, has very special meaning, because today we are not merely transferring power from one administration to another, but we are transferring power from Washington, D.C., and giving it back to you, the people. For too long, a small group in our nation's capital has reaped the rewards of government, while the people have borne the cost. Washington flourished, but the people did not share in its wealth. This American carnage stops right here and stops right now. The forgotten men and women of our country will be forgotten no longer. From this day forward, a new vision will govern our land. From this day forward, it's going to be only America first.
This is a president of the United States who is a danger to the republic.
America first.
He knows he's an illegitimate president.
The oath of office I take today is an oath of allegiance to all Americans.
The great Trump recovery.
America will never be a socialist country. I will fight for you with every breath in my body.
Russia, Russian, pro-Russian, Russian, Russia, Russian, 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 the Russians. Russian.
Russia, Russia, Russia.
And I will never, ever let you down.
A dangerous virus is spreading rapidly in China, and U.S. officials are very worried that it could come here.
This is really the worst attack we've ever had. This is worse than Pearl Harbor. This is worse than the World Trade Center. There's never been an attack like this.
The time for empty talk is over. Now arrives the hour of action. What they're doing is using COVID to steal an election. Together, we will make America strong again. You know what it's about? Fraud, fake ballots. We will make America wealthy again. They are trying to steal the election.
Now, under the leadership of President Trump, we are fully realizing President Kennedy's prescient view of Special Operations Forces.
We will make America proud again. And watch, please, those mail-in ballots. We will make America safe again. And in millions and millions of ballots, their vote is under what they thought they needed. They're dumping more ballots in there, okay? And yes, together, we will make America great again. Thank you. God bless you. If we are right about the fraud, Joe Biden can't be president.
Congress, the chair declares the joint session dissolved.
Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Wednesday edition of the Devolution Power Hour. As usual, and unfortunately, I am joined by Mr. Bernie Bright. Bernie Bright, how you doing now?
I'm okay. I'm at about 70% with my
healthy yet?
would-be lethal to women man flu. But yeah.
What is RFK even doing? I thought we were going to make America healthy again, and here you are, been sick for like a week.
I'm waiting. It's like 10 days, so not great.
Well,
slightly better. I'm sure I'll be completely drained after this.
Yeah. You know what? I don't know if you will be. If I'm being honest, man, I don't even know what the hell to talk about. I mean, I do. We have topics lined up, but like,
yeah,
unless you want to spend your entire time talking about social media stupidity and drama and Candace Owens and the midterms and like all these stupid things, there's like not that much exciting going on right now. It's
there's
all
a lot
reruns.
of gear, there's a lot of wheels spinning in the narrative going on. It feels like end of year, you know, like spending slows down with corporations, fiscal years and all that. It's like the writers of the central narrative are playing by the same rules, and they're like, we'll do some new stories in January or February.
Yeah, like geopolitically, it's all reruns.
Yeah.
The White House, everybody's like freaking out. Trump doesn't know what he's doing. Nobody knows who killed Charlie Kirk, and everybody's like, half the internet's like, we shall question it, and you know, defending that point of view, and then everybody else is like, don't do that, otherwise either one is blaming each other for the midterms.
Yeah.
We could talk about Patrick Byrne for a little bit. I think that'd be more interesting just because of where he's at in our community, like where people have put him in our community, and the fact that he literally just admitted he's a CIA agent, and that should send shockwaves up everybody's spine, but I don't know if it necessarily has. I don't know. It's just stupid.
Do we know if that's true, or was that a just saying stuff type of situation?
You'll see in the clip. It was
looking forward.
Pretty direct. And this is like the second or third time that he's admitted to being some sort of Fed. Last time it was FBI, and then for a while it was like designated national security asset, like just very vague, just helping people out. And now it's like, okay, I know I told you I wasn't CIA. That was my red line, but I was just kidding. I'm CIA.
On a completely unrelated note, I saw that Greg Phillips is going to be at FEMA.
Yep, right? He's going to be the new director of FEMA. That's
interesting. Seems like
that's a word for it.
Great spot. Election denier tapped for FEMA leadership role. Interesting. I'm sure we all have really good opinions of FEMA in this community. So,
is that an agency constitutional, you think?
I don't think any agency is constitutional. Which, hey, we did see, I saw that, speaking of agencies, Reuters had a big exclusive today that tax prosecutions have plunged as Trump shifts crime-fighting efforts. And it was a whole editorial talking about how upset the mainstream media is about the IRS basically not doing anything.
Like, what does that mean? How many prosecutions have there been? Because unless it's like zero, it's probably too many.
IRS stat, what was it? Federal tax prosecutions fell over 27% due to staffing cuts. Granted, even the ones I was looking at that it was supposedly mentioning, you know, like the types of prosecutions, I'm not going to defend the IRS, but the way it read was that it was talking about laundering and fraud was coming up, right? So I think
I understood. That I should prosecute.
Like in this audience, of course, most of us think the IRS should be abolished, and when you think IRS, you think taxes. But they also do investigate corporate fraud, all that kind of stuff, and that seems to be what it's talking about with prosecutions. So it would be really interesting to get data. I'm sure it's available somewhere. I don't know if it's public, but of like how many prosecutions of just American citizens for failure to pay taxes have happened. And I would not be shocked if that number is zero.
Yeah, you know, I was looking at some data. There's this guy on Twitter, Charlie Bailello. He like does a whole bunch of financial numbers and stuff, and he had this today, or at least he shared it, reshared it. the inflows and outflows for this year so far.
Mm-hmm.
Total receipts 740 billion. Total outlays almost 2 billion. We are at a $458 billion deficit. Our Doge savings so far is 214 billion. They haven't updated this since October 4th. Awesome. Speaking of prosecutions, they have saved $214 billion in fraud, waste, and abuse. Yet not a single story that I've seen of anybody being prosecuted in any form or fashion for said fraud. Why am I keep saying fraud, waste, and abuse, which is a little silly. But I recommend you guys follow this account, this Charlie Bailello guy. He's pretty good with financial numbers and whatnot. And right now, our interest expense, the House just passed their version of the NDAA, just under $1 trillion. Our current interest expense on public debt is more than the NDAA. It's over $1 trillion, almost 1.3 trillion. Insanity.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason there's entire cottage industries that are just built around talking about federal debt, national debt. It's like the most cartoonish example of a credit card we could possibly have, except it still blows people's minds, even who do talk about it a lot, because ostensibly you're basically in debt to your own money supply. It's kind of like there's some of these macro topics that are really complicated, and then there's some of them that I feel like a 7-year-old would ask the same question that a 47-year-old would ask, when you're like, hold on, so who do we owe the money to? And you get economists who will write a 500-page pamphlet about who we owe the money to, and it's about the printing supply and keeping everything solvent, blah, blah, blah. But really, that question is the answer. We don't owe anybody that money. That money isn't real.
Well, also, like this alone, this graph and this graph, I feel like those should be reasons enough where you could like go to a judge in court and be like, why would I pay taxes when this is how they handle our money?
Right.
Like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. Like there's no accountability in our election system. I mean, we can go on and on, and we'll get to that. I think we should maybe come back around to the economic stuff. I know did the Fed lower rates, or are they talking about lowering rates?
They cut by a quarter again, and this is same sort of thing. Stephen Miron. Is it Miron or Myron?
Moran. Yeah.
He dissented again. But they basically seem to be frozen, as we've talked about. 6 months ago, all the financial media was saying like, oh yeah, they're going to be just cutting like crazy. They haven't done that. And now they're even saying 2026, like, yeah, we might not even need to cut at all, maybe one more time. And then you've got Trump signaling his next pick, which is obviously coming pretty soon.
Yeah, Hassett. The rumor is Hassett.
That's
I don't
the
know
rumor.
If it's true.
Yeah.
We'll see.
He'll probably announce in January, and then it'll be interesting to see what happens there. I mean, I've been thinking that whoever it's going to be is just going to be the fire hose, like warp speed, but I don't know. Maybe not.
Hassett seems boring. I don't know. It's just like,
yeah,
I want somebody exciting there, but maybe not, because sometimes the exciting picks are terrible too. Like,
yeah,
I don't even care at this point. I think we should probably get a quick word from our sponsors of tonight's show. And I'm curious, like in the chat tonight, guys, since there's like just so many random things going on and I have no idea, like nothing is piquing my interest tonight. I would love to, get some feedback, and we can discuss whatever you guys wanted to discuss tonight.
Throw us some topics.
Yeah. I don't want to spend any time on the Candace Owens Tim Pool thing, but
I love to see it.
Outside of that,
just as a general,
I mean, let them eat themselves alive, right? Eat each other. It's kind of great. Maybe let's start.
If you're on the Serengeti and you're trying to get your domain, and two of the other lions out there are fighting each other, you just walk right on through.
Yeah. College football playoffs. Nah. Packer versus Broncos. Nah.
Bruins being
should be out of jail.
Surprisingly good is a solid topic.
What?
Bruins being surprisingly good is
I don't
a
want to
solid
talk
top.
hockey
Did you hear
either.
Charlie McAvoy lost like all his teeth and 20 pounds?
No. Are those
Got
two
hit
things
with a
correlated?
puck.
Did he lose
Yeah.
20 pounds because he had no teeth?
Yeah, he got hit with a puck last month, and he broke his face, lost all the teeth on one row, and has been eating through a straw.
Oh my gosh.
And we're like, it's time to get back on the ice, Charlie. You know, hit the fucking weight room.
CC in the chat, my girlfriend says they sound unprepared, but can vouch Jon was in his office for 2 hours before the show time, prepping and reading docs.
I've got a million things up here. None of them are that exciting to me. I think
and they're all things we've talked about 100 times. Like, are we going to talk about the Ukraine peace deal again?
Yeah, we will.
Okay. No,
But
I don't want to. Like, we've done that 100 times and there's nothing new. Are we going to talk about Venezuela? Nobody knows what the fuck's going on in Venezuela. Like, it's the same. It's in the same position it's been for 3 months. There's nothing new. We can talk about soft disclosure. I think
the only route is to talk about how these things are being talked about, which is often what we end up doing.
Which is also gay too. I mean, if we're thinking about it. We could talk about the NDAA, and that's what I was going through before the show. I was trying to find like bullshit in there, and it turns out the whole thing is bullshit. We're spending another $800 billion in Ukraine. Not just this year, but next year. They're trying to handicap Trump in his peace negotiations by not putting any funding forth for anything that recognizes Russian, land or whatever land that was Ukrainian that Russian may get in a peace deal. The whole thing is so dumb, and it's annoying. 3,000 pages. There's just nothing. But anyway, let's go through our sponsors real quick, and then we'll come back around and see what the chat says. And we'll start with the Patrick Byrne stuff because that's probably going to be the most interesting. If you watch my show
want to
today,
talk about the tanker, so we can talk about the tanker a little bit.
What tanker? The Venezuelan tanker?
Not the tanker itself, but yeah.
Okay.
I've got a little take on that stuff, but I'm sure it's stuff Ghost has said.
Okay, well, if it's gay, I'm going to say no.
Right.
If it's gay, like supposedly Benny Johnson, we could talk about Milo, whatever his name is, going after Benny Johnson. Everybody's scissoring on Twitter, man.
Is he calling him gay?
Yeah, and apparently there's going to be like a lawsuit or something. Like Benny's threatening to sue. And then,
now.
Yeah, it's just like the thing these days.
Yeah.
Okay, Chef IQ, guys. If you use this for Thanksgiving, you probably had the best turkey of your life like I did. But guess what? There's other important meals. Not just every meal, but like holiday meals. And I cannot recommend enough getting one of these things. It'd make a fantastic Christmas present for anybody in your life, whether it's like somebody who cooks all the time or somebody who's a beginner. Chef IQ Sense is the wireless cooking thermometer that takes all the guesswork out of holiday meals. Your roast, your turkey, your prime rib, it comes out perfect every single time, turning I think it's done into I know it's done. It even tells you when to flip, when to take it off the heat, and how long to let it rest. Basically like having a personal chef right in your kitchen. With Chef IQ, you can sip your cocoa and actually spend time with your family instead of hovering over the oven. It's a gift everybody will love, whether seasoned cooks, kitchen rookies, everybody in between. This season, give yourself and your loved ones the perfect gift of perfectly cooked meals. With promo code DPH, you can save 30% and get all of your shopping done. Go to chefiq.com, promo code DPH. Did you guys use this for your turkey?
We didn't cook the turkey. My uncle cooked a turkey, but just reminded me, Mrs. Bright gets a free turkey every year from her work. And we took that free turkey and froze it, even though we weren't the ones cooking this year. So I just remembered I have a big ass turkey in my basement right now. So maybe that'll be a Christmas turkey.
That should be, yeah. Just put some little tinsel on it, put under some mistletoe, and a Christmas turkey.
Mm-hmm.
Good to go.
We also have live turkeys everywhere around my house, but
is your dog
haven't yet grabbed one of those. He actually got in a fight with one. Well, he rugby tackled one like 2 years ago, 2 summers ago, but it got away.
People are saying, so the FBI HSI seized a tanker with U.S. Navy assistance. That's different. We'll talk about that. We do have one more sponsor real quick, and then we'll get into it. We got some CB Distillery, another awesome Christmas present for you guys. Chef IQ, CB Distillery. Also some soft disclosure, pretty much anything at badlandshop.com. But the holidays are hectic, family drama, last minute shopping, late nights. Make the holidays feel like an endurance test. That's why I'm sharing the ultimate holiday survival plan. CBD from CB Distillery. Seriously, everything you need for a merry holiday is here. Stuff mom's stocking with CBD for better sleep. Gift your fitness friends a pain relief stick for post-workout pain. And don't forget to grab a little holiday calm for yourself. Every CB Distillery product is made with premium quality, clean ingredients, no fillers or anything artificial. With over 2 million customers and a 100% money-back guarantee, it's the gift you can feel good about giving. This year, give yourself and everyone on your list the gift of better sleep, less stress, and pain relief from CBD from CB Distillery. And with promo code RUMBLE, you can save 25% off your entire purchase. Visit cbdistillery.com, enter code RUMBLE for 25% off. Again, that's cbdistillery.com, promo code RUMBLE. Specific product availability depends on individual state regulations. All right. Okay, if you want to start with the tanker story, go for it.
Yeah, let me grab just as... Oh,
I heard it was like laced with fentanyl or something. That's what people are saying. Like they're trying to bring fentanyl into the United States with this tanker.
Let's see what the Politico write-up said about it. Hold on. U.S. seizes Cuba-bound Venezuelan oil tanker, ramping up pressure on Maduro. So obviously escalation, etc. They did say this. Trump said, as you probably know, we've just seized a tanker on the coast of Venezuela, a large tanker, very large, the largest one ever seized, actually. It was seized for a very good reason. This is when you know he's being very serious, right?
Nobody's ever seized a tanker this big before.
No additional details. An anonymous person said the ship was en route to Cuba, where the state firm Cuba Metales was planning to sell it to Asian energy brokers. Bondi on X said they had a warrant, a seizure warrant, transport sanctioned oil from Venezuela to Iran. For multiple years, this is the part that I found a little interesting. For multiple years, the oil tanker has been sanctioned by the United States due to its involvement in an illicit oil shipping network supporting foreign terrorist organizations. So, obviously, the macro, header is huge escalation with Venezuela, right? But I think that there's plenty that we can talk about on that and Maduro and what may or may not be going on there. Of course, we're just giving our opinions and guesses on that. But I did find that interesting because Trump, surface level, he's been targeting these cartel boats, right? And a huge push in 2025 on a kinetic level has been targeting the illicit drug trade. I believe that's true. There's a lot of things that we're looking at that we're like, is this kayfabe? Is this not kayfabe? Is this cover for something else? I do believe that the Trump administration and the military have stepped up efforts hugely in 2025 on counter narcotics, counter terrorism, the border, all these things are tied into that, right? So I think that that's true. It's interesting to me, the wording in several of these stories talking about that the tanker has been on their list, Homeland Security list, for however many years. And of course, the headlines are talking about it's Venezuelan, etc. But whether you believe Maduro's our boy or not, even if you believe he's this narco-terrorist, dictator, like the media has been telling you, which should be your first hint there, nobody believes he's in control here. Even people who understand how the international cabal criminal networks work, they've got bagmen everywhere. We talk about this with Zelensky and all these different bag holders, right? So to me, this is a interesting case where that tanker probably has been being used by these terrorist organizations. The question is, does that mean the Venezuelan government is involved in this, or is it a deep state tanker? And I think, many different countries we're looking at, even back, the last couple of years, we've talked a lot about Gaza and Hezbollah and all the stuff with Israel, Iran. And it's funny because, you start looking into any of those stories, or even Syria, and the line between nation state and specific terror group often gets blurred in the headlines. That's what it made me think of. Like, okay, they seem to have taken some chip off the board here. The headlines are all framing this as a Maduro thing, but there's not really any mention of Maduro in any of the U.S. communications about this. It's really just talking about the terrorist network And it's kind of interesting that they bring Hezbollah into it. You know, they tie it directly into Middle Eastern terror cells, not just South American, almost like it's all one organization.
Yeah, you know, again, I'm almost at a point where I'm done trying to even figure out what the hell is going on in Venezuela, because I don't know. I don't know. And I will say it feels weird that, like, I think all the wrong people are trying to pressure us to do something in Venezuela. And I'm firmly like, I'm firm in that stance, considering what we're going to go through in a little bit with Patrick Byrne. I no longer trust that guy. Just based, and he's got the opportunity to come on Badlands on Why We Vote. He's the one who backed out, but he can come on there and answer these questions, and maybe I'd feel differently. But based on what I'm seeing so far, there are legitimate questions that need to be asked, and it just seems like a Fed. Okay. But his like so adamant that we need to like be invading Venezuela. Like, is it because Venezuela's a bad guy? Is Trump's what he's doing there because he's trying to free up, you know, one of these sovereign nations, like sovereign alliance nations for the group? Like, I don't know. They've been trying to regime change Maduro and whoever in Venezuela well before Trump was ever there. And so that makes me wonder, like, that's what they were trying to do to Putin in Russia. Hillary Clinton tried to overthrow him and steal elections and all that stuff. They haven't been able to do it. We don't know what we don't know. So it's really difficult to like take a stance, and you know, I'm done even trying to like figure out at this point until something new happens, because right now we're getting the same old song and dance, and it's all just so dumb. There's good twin, evil twin in every country. I don't know which twin Maduro is. His dance moves are almost eerily similar to Trump's, which makes me think
that's
that alone indicator. Is probably Trump white hat. But it's so stupid, and I'm just done spending my emotional capital on it. Not that I ever was in the first place. I'm just done wasting time on it. It's until something exciting happens.
Yeah, I think that's why my point on the tanker situation is, again, just looking at how they're communicating about it, how the Trump administration's communicating about it. I think that it's easy to write the headlines about Venezuela and Maduro, but that's not really what they're saying. Like they're like, this tanker was sanctioned for involvement in an international crime syndicate, essentially.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think the administration is leaning into this stuff. Obviously, Trump has been leaning into the pressures on Maduro. He even today stepped it up and said, Colombia's next. Like, he got asked about the Colombian president.
Or Petro or whatever.
Petro. And he said, he's next. You better watch out. Which anytime Trump does that, to me personally, it feels like a little over the top. Maduro, remember, was the guy who was going to cage fight Elon.
Yeah, but do you remember earlier in the year when there was the deportation flights and Petro was like, "You're not sending your planes here," right. And then Trump was like, "Well, I'm going to drag my testicles across your face and tariff you," and then he immediately backed down.
Yeah, and
it was like less than 24 hours that he backed down, and that was kind of a template for the tariff model that he's been using, I think, all over the world. In terms of what he's saying, like, okay, we're going to go to this next, you know, country and go around. That's very much aligned with his national security strategy. What are you saying? Like, the Western Hemisphere, we're going to become partners with these people. If we need to leverage these people with, you know, whatever tools we have in our belt to kind of rip them away from the globalist interests, we'll do that. And maybe that's what we're seeing here with Maduro and Petro and all these countries. Like, in order for Trump to, you know, implement his agenda for us, like the golden age, I don't think it's going to work if we go to the golden age ourselves. Like, we're going to have to bring some people with us, and ideally everybody with us. And so we're going to have to, you know, probably assist some of these countries in reaching their sovereignty. That doesn't mean directly, you know, some of the non-intervention stuff that he talked about in there. He basically said strict non-interventionism is like not possible. Like, we're going to have to do some things, but it's not going to be like what we used to be doing, where we go and do 20-year war regime change stuff.
Yeah. And I have trust that I would agree with that. I don't think that I trust that that's not Trump's model. He's not into, you know, if we get some regime change narrative in Venezuela, it wouldn't surprise me. And Ghost and I talked about this on the narrative a few weeks ago. I personally think if we do get that, it's going to resemble the Syria template. They've already laid this out in headlines where you've got Russia has offered Maduro safe haven. Trump has said that he's open to granting Maduro amnesty. right? So that situation, if that played out, would look almost identical to Bashar al-Assad in Syria, where it's like, oh no, look at this whole regime change thing that's going on. And then where's Assad? He's in Moscow. He's living the good life. And now Trump is signing deals with the new regime, al-Shara, in Syria. So it's possible that that happens with Maduro, and Maduro ends up over in Moscow. The latest country that I saw offer was Qatar. And again, this is why the sovereign alliance framing is so important when people are like, oh, why would you even lean toward Maduro being part of the sovereign alliance or something like that? Well, look at all the countries that are offering him safe haven. They're sovereign alliance nations, and these are the nations that Trump is dealing with. So Russia, mileage varies on that. I mean, if you don't think that there's coordination there at this point, I don't know what to tell you. But Qatar is a country that in 2025, Donald Trump has made a huge priority in terms of relations, right? Economic relations with Qatar. Hell, they're backing the Paramount Ellison deal to try to go after Warner Brothers, for God's sakes. So, and Jared Kushner is in bed with the Qataris, the Saudis, and the Emirates.
We just signed
an
information a sharing deal with them. Our FBI did. I do have this
exactly.
clip. Bricks Info shared this earlier today, about an hour ago, from Tucker Carlson. So we are a little ahead of Tucker on this one, but now it's normie friendly to talk about this.
So there are a couple of different countries you might throw out there if you were looking purely through the lens of what's good for the United States, an America first perspective. The most obvious, of course, would be Russia. Russia! Why? Because it's the biggest country in the world. It's the biggest landmass in the world, and it has enormous mineral deposits, energy deposits. It's got a lot of oil and gas and gold and everything else you need to run a society. And it also has a formidable military, by far the biggest on that continent, on the European continent, and huge manufacturing capacity. So, like, if you needed an ally to help you in a conflict, or if you needed a country in which to stage a fight with some other country, a place to put air bases, for example, Russia would be like the best, of course.
Shocking. Good to see him doing it. I mean, he's on there. But the point, to wrap up that point on Qatar, you know, it's not just that I think these countries are sovereign alliance countries. It's look at the links there. Donald Trump, as you just said, is signing deals with the Qataris. And then you expect me to believe that Maduro is like this evil, mass murdering dictator that's got nothing to do with the sovereign alliance. But Donald Trump is going to grant him amnesty and let him go live in Qatar, and the Qataris want him there. And Trump is doing all these deals with Qatar. It doesn't make any sense. So, but, you know, that's one scenario. The other scenario is Maduro stays there. And to your point, you don't have to play Maduro white hat in order to get this scenario where it's just the Monroe Doctrine and the national security strategy Trump put out, which is like, hey, we're going to clean up this area, the U.S., no matter what you have to say about it. And you're either going to get on board with that or you're not going to get on board with that. But we're just going to do it anyway. And I saw the term going around. I had never seen it before today. Apparently it's a thing that they're just calling it gunboat diplomacy. It's like, hey, we've got the assets in the area and we're in charge. So it doesn't really matter at the end of the day if Maduro's a white hat or a black hat. It's Venezuela, and they're not going to do shit to the U.S. Navy. Yeah.
And here's the thing, too. I don't want to speak for you, but I'm pretty sure nobody is trying to say that Maduro's a good guy. And this is one of the dangers. Anybody thinks like white hat, black hat, whatever. Like, there are different levels of that. Nobody knows. Like, I've never met Maduro. I've never been to Venezuela. I've never been out of the country. I don't know what bad atrocities Maduro has done. That doesn't mean he's not under, facing the same enemy that Trump has essentially been facing, or Putin or Xi or any of these people. Like, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. It's very possible, and I would lean likely that that's the case. And so, there's a lot of things when you look at it through that lens that could be on the table that aren't there otherwise.
Yeah, that's a good clarification, because if and I would say that if there's anything that's very firm in this situation, this is why I always use the globalist media as the ultimate reverse indicator. It is factual that the globalist apparatus that we would call the deep state has been an enemy of Nicolas Maduro. To your point, that doesn't mean that he's a ready-made friend for the US. But as you said, enemy of my enemy. It doesn't have to get more complicated than that. And in fact, many alliances throughout human history have just been predicated on that. And, you know, if you want one data point to this, I know Chris has been talking about this a lot.
Yeah, me and Chris have been talking about Venezuela a lot on our show over the past couple of years.
Yeah, so easy. I mean, look at this. It's like, come on, reverse indicator. Disguised and in danger, how a Nobel Peace Prize winner escaped Venezuela. So the opposition leader, Marina Corina Machado, I don't have some brilliant analysis on it. It's just when I see the same day, I see the media taking the seizure of a tanker and being like, Trump is totally going to start carpet bombing Venezuela on the back of it. And then they're running parallel narratives of the super amazing heroine, you know, opposition leader, Nobel Prize winner who just escaped the country. I think Chris or you or Ghost, somebody was saying that like her own Twitter data debunks that whole narrative. So when you see those stories, it should help you with some reverse indicators of who actually wants Maduro out of there and what do they want in his place.
Yeah, what's the fucking point of the Peace Prize anyway? Because they never actually give it to anybody who's like made more peace. You know what I mean? They only give it to the people that, you know, are whatever part of the regime and pushing the regime narratives or what that benefit the regime narratives. I'm your moderator. That this chick was geolocated in the U.S. weeks ago. This whole thing's a clown show. Absolutely.
Yeah, totally fake. And again, I look less even at where she was and whether the story was fake and more like the Wall Street Journal, a paper of record, is throwing this globalist Nobel Prize winner in your face on the same day that we've got more saber rattling against Maduro. That should tell you everything it needs to.
The whole thing is weird too, because like we're told this Maduro guy is this terrible person, and half the people want Trump to like overthrow him, but then yet everybody who's anti-Trump, anti-MAGA, except for like a small few, are like the leftist media are super against everything Trump is doing when it comes to Venezuela. Like there's this weird shift or divide between the narrative on this, and it's just hard to parse out, which is why I'm like, I don't even give a shit at this point until we get something interesting and exciting that happens down there, which we may never get. More dance moves, maybe. It's just, it's all noise right now for me.
A lot of this stuff ends up sort of just fizzling out. And then all of a sudden Trump, you know, even on a bigger level, I can't remember the specific headlines, but, you know, 2 months ago, we were talking about the huge tit for tat between Trump and Xi Jinping and the trade war. Tit for tit.
The phrase on Badlands is tit for tit.
Dem titties.
Yeah.
Going back and forth. And what I found so funny this week and last week is in between Trump hitting, like he's threatening sanctions on Mexico, some other allied nations. I think Poland was one of them, you know, financial sanctions. He's announcing new chip deals with China. So it's like, look at that. Like, come on. All the super emotional bloviating in the media. Oh my God, World War III, but it's a trade war this time. And it's like, the only guy Trump has made economic deals with in the last 7 days is Xi Jinping. And the people he's not dealing with is the EU, which I love to see.
So dumb. It's all so dumb, man. Let's talk about, speaking of dumb and clown shows, and let's see what happens next. We got some clips for you guys. We are going to talk about, what's his face? Patrick Byrne. Again, I covered a lot of this stuff on my show today. It's worth going over it again.
It relates to Venezuela.
Let me find the right time spot here. So this is where he admits to
What's
being...
the premise here? Is this about the Venezuela saving the election story?
Yeah, so there's this guy sending letters from prison, like Dear John letters to President Trump, and it just so happens to be exposing all the things, exposing everything. Second letter from former Venezuelan general in U.S. custody, Major General Cliver Alcala Cordonez, has been sent directly to POTUS, and it's a bombshell. I mean, if it was sent directly to POTUS, I'm assuming you put a letter in an envelope. Who read the envelope? How did these people know it? Like it's just so many questions. But anyway, he reveals that Venezuela is run by a criminal shadow cartel, the Cartel de los Soles. At the top, Jorge and Delcy Rodriguez, the true puppet masters behind Maduro, Cabello, and the entire regime. So really, Maduro's not even running elections in Venezuela and all these countries. It's the Rodriguez twins or brothers, whatever. See, this, like, their narrative just continues to move goalposts. Smartmatic systems were used to manipulate elections, especially where no opposition observers were present, and the same tech is now used in the United States. He names names. He implicates systems. But anyway, so he's all the stories. Let's hear who we're getting it from. Straight from the horse's mouth.
Remember that? I was waiting for him to do the white man overbite. Remember? Anyway,
Right.
yeah, this letter is extraordinary. It piles on the letter from Nicholas. So this guy, Alcala, is another one. He's run through, the real question at this point, and I'll tell you the truth, and I'm getting really mad. So I'm going to be a little more forthcoming in the past. What's going on is in the White House, there's been a fight. And the fight has the CIA and Rick Grinnell on one side. On the other side is Peter Hegseth and Marco Rubio, who are saying who think like us. This is, 1,000 times worse than.
So just since you brought up their names, did you know that Secretary Hegseth and Marco Rubio are reportedly briefing the Gang of 8 today? So obviously about Venezuela. Yeah.
But
that broke from
I wanted to drop a breaking. Just as I came on with you, our friend Zorro sent me breaking news.
Who's Zorro, by the way? Like, is he talking about the masked bandit dude or what? But just be patient, guys. It's coming. This is at the end of the first clip, and then we'll play the entire second clip. This is where he first admits he's been CIA the whole time.
I've sent the picture to Dawn. 2 F-18s have taken off from an aircraft carrier and have broken Venezuelan airspace, and they're approaching over Maracaibo. We have 2 F-18s in Venezuela airspace. It just came just as you were introducing me.
So this is like 2 days ago. I haven't heard any reports of F-18s bombing anybody in Venezuela. I don't know if you've heard any reports like that.
No, not yet.
Okay.
Hasn't come across my
your intel desk
contacts. Yeah,
your sources haven't. Your anonymous sources familiar with the matter haven't told you anything.
All right, so sorry about so we have now broken Venezuela airspace with 2 F-18s. Let's get this show on the road. The problem is, and because I'm mad, I've refrained all I could from doing this. All I could. I explored every other avenue I could, but we're facing an insurrection. We have this going on. I have no choice. First thing to tell you is, how I've explained all these years, I've had this weird relationship with the government, and it was like intellectual, and my bright red line was the CIA, and I had nothing to do with them. That's all a lie. I'm CIA. I was CIA for years. After 9/11, I did have that academic relationship with the government for years. After 9/11, I got pulled up into the CIA. I worked for them, and here's the key point.
So Patrick Byrne has been in a non-binary, bisexual, transsexual relationship with our government for years. But it turns out he is now identifying as CIA and has been this whole time.
So where did they scoop him up from? Is it like what was he doing?
Something after 9/11. We don't know. It's classified. But okay. Did you catch the part there? He's like, I have no choice. I have no choice. Yeah. I pursued every avenue I could, but to tell you this. So he tried to lie to us in any way possible, except for this. And now he's finally telling us the truth. I'm CIA, and I've been CIA this whole time. And in the past, just to make sure we're clear here, in the past, he has claimed to be FBI. He said and we'll talk a little bit about Maria Butina, but he said that where is it at? Byrne later claimed the FBI told him to break off his relationship with Butina. They came back to me and said, boy, that was a mistake. They want you to. So he's got this weird relationship with the FBI. I'm trying to find the actual. Oh, here we go. Byrne said it after he met Butina at an event in Las Vegas in 2015. The FBI said that. Oh, I can't. I'm sorry. I'm trying to skim and read at the same time. It's not really working. He had built a relationship with the FBI after helping the Bureau in 2 previous cases. He said, adding that agents told him he had a non-standard relationship with the government. The FBI, according to Byrne, greenlit and encouraged him to build a relationship with Butina, which he did, saying he would be meeting with the young grad student every 6 weeks and discussing philosophy and politics with her. And then that was his excuse then. FBI, now he's CIA. It's ridiculous. But we have another clip here. So I don't know if you want to talk at all first, but he explains it even further.
Well, I just saw Spotzel said in the chat, if he's CIA, he's a known liar.
I think.
Spetzel. If he's not CIA, he's a known liar. Just on a baseline for this community, it's like, so either you're lying about being CIA, in which case you're a liar, or you're not lying about being CIA, in which case on two fronts you're a liar. You're a liar because you're admitting that you've been lying about who you are and where you're getting your information for the last however long. The whole time you've essentially been of relevance to the Trump audience, for sure. And second, if you are CIA, we don't really like those that much. I mean, I don't think that that's controversial in this audience. I don't think the CIA has been rehabilitated, certainly not in my estimation. So I'm just not sure. I'm interested to see why he would think revealing that he was lying would be a good thing. And then secondly, why associating yourself with the CIA would be a good thing.
You know, honest question for you or anybody in the chat before we watch the next clip. Like, where and why did Patrick Byrne become like one of these people on a pedestal in our movement? You know what I mean? Because like there's a few of them out there. General Flynn is one of them. And I feel like Patrick Byrne is like right up there, and they kind of operate together now, which is interesting. But like, why did they become, or why? I mean, Flynn, I get, but Byrne himself, why did he become one of these guys on a pedestal? Like, what was it? Was he in the Q drops or something?
No, not that I know of. I mean, somebody in chat can help out here, but speaking from my experience, I just know him as an election fraud guy. So that, you know, besides the Overstock thing, you know, besides who Patrick Byrne is, that's how I've known him, of just he's getting to the bottom of elections, and he's been making claims going back a long ways of the contacts he has.
Hold on. He's been getting to the bottom of elections. What has he gotten to the bottom of with our elections?
I didn't say he was successfully doing anything. He's been branded as a guy getting to the bottom of the elections. Maybe somebody in chat, maybe Ghost can refresh my memory. There was a claim he made about, was it about Hunter Biden's laptop? That was like, I remember him being huge in the narrative around the laptop. The idea that he had the contents of the laptop and he had given them to this person and that person. I may be wrong about that, but I think
I had Ash on my show today, and this is kind of just tying it to the election stuff before we get into everything else. When we think of like feds, right, especially, you know, we've talked about it in our movement before many times, like they're clearly going to infiltrate as many things as they can to try to derail them or, you know, steer them in the wrong direction or whatever it is. It makes sense they would also do that with the exposure of election fraud and the election integrity movement. And I'm not saying that is what Byrne is. I'm just saying there are legitimate questions that Ash brought up in her Twitter thread and on my show today that I think need to be explored. And one of them has to do with Tina Peters, because the guy that was kind of at the central of Tina Peters' case, this guy named Conan Hayes, or Conan something. I think it's Conan Hayes. I don't want to get the name wrong and like end up getting sued for name dropping. Yeah, Conan Hayes. So he was the guy that Tina brought in, and she like misrepresented him as somebody who worked for, you know, her election agency or department or secretary, whatever. And because of that, it was like multiple counts. Well, this Conan Hayes guy is somebody that was literally on Byrne's payroll. And let me show you that. She sent me the screenshot of the relevant portion of his J6 testimony. This is where he admits that Conan Hayes was being paid by him at the time that he went to Tina Peters' office. So, I mean, it's just interesting. So the others I did not until...
I don't know this Conan Hayes guy because I didn't follow that case closely.
Yeah, I didn't either. I had to have Ash explain
his
it to me.
relation with Tina Peters? He's the one who like caught her.
No, so
or went after
Tina like had questions and concerns about the election stuff, and this is me paraphrasing. So if I get aspects of this wrong, forgive me. But she like, you know, took the data and she needed somebody to come in and like look at it, but you weren't allowed to bring in outside people you had to like bring in approved people. So she said, or allegedly said, that this Conan Hayes guy was actually this Jerry Wood guy. And she did that to 3 people. And those are like 3 of the counts or something. And you know what? I could probably just go to Ash's thread and give you the exact details because I think she has the questions listed. So let me do that real quick. Right here. Yeah, I'm going to read a couple things really quick. In your January 6th committee testimony, you lay out your interactions with other notable election integrity movement players like ASOG, Colonel Waldron, Conan Hayes, etc. before the 2020 election. As a matter of record, yours, multiple forums, you also funded different election integrity efforts around the country after the 2020 election, including, again, at least in part, some notable efforts in 2021. According to your testimony, you essentially had Conan Hayes on retainer that year. I don't think you used the term retainer, but described the concept. Conan Hayes was directly involved in the Mike Lindell PCAP operation, as well as the Mesa County image operation, both running in parallel throughout 2021 and converging at the Cyber Symposium in August. Side quest, but important. The moment these two operations converge happens to be the state's benefit harm theory of why Tina Peters did what she did. They say she wanted to be famous. The 4 felonies on which Tina was convicted, the majority of her 9 years, are the charges related to the misrepresentation of Conan Hayes to 3 people, 3 felonies, and the conspiracy to make that misrepresentation 1 felony. She was acquitted on the other felonies. If Tina Peters had been able to speak about her intent and present the jury with her defenses, not recognized by Colorado, it's possible the jury would have reached reasonable doubt on the rest. We'll never know. How involved on the strategy were you in the execution of the PCAPs, Mesa County, and the credential plan that forms the basis of Peters' felony convictions? Note that the convicting fact that Conan Hayes was misrepresented as Jerry Wood to 3 officials was stipulated by all parties at trial. And so again, this Conan Hayes guy is on Patrick Byrne's payroll. So the others I did not until, and then there's another name, Stephen Lukescu, who I met, I think, on the street and was clearly a Hollywood guy, ponytail, martial artist type guy, and he was Hollywood. And I said, everything is going to be everything that's happened as we parted on, I think, on January 7th. I said, everything that's happened is going to be the subject of history and so on and so forth, prosecutors. And how much would it cost you to take a film crew and go around and interview everybody? Just get everybody as quickly as you can. And he said, $250,000. So I said, I'll wire you $250,000 too. So I was talking about, I believe, Conan Hayes. That's what Ash sent over for Conan Hayes. So interesting stuff. He's like funding that and connected to that. So there's just questions. There's also one more thing, and then I'll pass the mic if I can find the right clip. Byrne engages with Donald Trump Jr. Donald Trump Jr. comes under federal investigation. Byrne engages with Sidney Powell. Powell comes under federal investigation. NRA comes under federal investigation. Byrne engages with audit groups. Audit groups come under federal investigation. Byrne engages with TMTG. TMTG comes under federal investigation. Oddly enough, Byrne himself never comes under federal investigation. Only the people he touches. And then got one more clip. I'll play for you guys.
That's huge. That's 2 huge bombshells right now. But I can't ignore the third. You just told us that you are CIA, sir. So how would you describe your role with the CIA, which you haven't revealed before?
Well, again, I was telling the truth when I said they frequently was reminded that you have a really non-standard relationship. You have that. It became kind of my mother relationship. I had lots of relationships across the government, but eventually I went from there to by 2010, 2011, Obama became something called a tier 1 intelligence asset. And then in 2010, 2011, Obama elevated me to national intelligence asset. I was told I was going to be the ace in the hole for all kinds of, for the real tough situations from 2010, That was after working for Brennan for 4 or 5 years. And then I continued doing all that stuff through 2016. And all this crazy stuff happened that I've told you about, where we set up the Russian hoax. That's why, I've talked around it because I was trying to hide that. But I've told these stories about how I got drawn into setting up the Russian hoax and the Hillary this and that. There's a little bit of fibbing there. I didn't want to explain the whole truth. I was doing that. I didn't just stumble into it. I was their go-to asset. I was the national intelligence asset. First, I got pulled under Brennan in 2006, and then 2011, I got moved into the White House.
Like, why would you brag about all this stuff? Like, I don't understand what he's doing here. Like, none of this stuff that he's saying now, or even, at the beginning of Trump's first term, would be like, okay, I'm going to trust this guy now. He's brought in under Brennan and Obama.
Go back a few seconds. The way he phrases that.
I was their go-to asset.
A little bit before. Yeah. Yeah, a little before that. It was the Russian hoax and the Hillary stuff.
We'll go right there.
Through 2016. And all this crazy stuff happened that I've told you about, where we set up the Russian hoax. That's why, I mean, I've talked around it because I was trying to hide that, but I've told these stories about how I got drawn into setting up the Russian hoax and the Hillary, this and that.
So I got drawn into setting up the Russian hoax, and I didn't even know these things. I don't follow.
Yeah, there's a
Patrick
story
Byrne.
out there that Patrick Byrne was an asset who helped, like, basically, he was the go-between between Hillary Clinton and like the Azerbaijani or something, and like a $18 million bribery thing that obviously she never went to jail for. So I don't know where that's even at in the scheme of things. But then after that, and that was allegedly so that Obama or whoever could control Hillary while she was in the office, right? That was their blackmail material. But then when it became clear that Trump was a legitimate contender, Patrick Byrne, who was originally kind of on the Rand Paul campaign, ended up helping set up the Russia collusion hoax in some form or fashion. I don't know if that's directly through Butina. He doesn't show up in the Durham report at all. He shows up on the Senate Intelligence Committee's report, and that's where you get some stuff like there's some good stuff in there where he let me see if I can find the one he like allegedly was offering Butina something like $1 million for her to have his baby. So,
I mean, to me, it's just, these are wild claims, first of all, but let's operate on taking them at face value. If you're looking for the why is he saying that, to your question earlier? I don't know. It's speculation, but none of that comes off good. And it feels to me like somebody trying to get ahead of stuff, trying to get ahead of narratives. And I'm trying to talk carefully about this because I don't know. Byrne put all this stuff out there for public consumption. He wants us to have opinions on it. So, okay, you're like, you've apparently talked before about getting roped into the Russian hoax and getting roped into a Hillary scandal, etc. Now, obviously, it seems to me the reason he's qualifying those things is that from the perspective of his audience that he's cultivated, from the perspective of the MAGA base, the American people, he would not look good in the context of those scandals. It's pretty easy to say that he's not saying, I was trying to get the bad guys. He's saying, I was roped into some scandals here that were obviously not good things. They were scandals targeting Donald Trump. They were scandals targeting the America First movement. They were scandals that were basically affronts to the American people. So that's what he's saying there. And I mean, there's not a whole lot more. Who knows what's true and what's not? But it's why now? Why are you coming out like making sure everybody knows that anything you might have done in the past as a CIA asset, according to you, you got roped into?
Yeah, where I think this is going, and maybe we'll finish this clip real quick, and then I'll give my thoughts on what I think is really going on here.
Fibbing there. I didn't want to explain the whole truth. I was doing that. I didn't just stumble into it. I was their go-to asset. I was the national intelligence asset. First, I got pulled under Brennan in 2006, and then 2011, I got moved into the White House. That's why I got mixed up in the Russian collusion and the Hillary stuff.
And there's actually a docu-series that General Michael Flynn produced about your life story, and this will make more sense now that you've shared this information if you go back and watch that docu-series. Why are you sharing this information now, Patrick? As we're looking at Venezuela and we're talking about our rigged elections, it seems to me that you feel that this is an important part of you that you need to let the people know. Why?
I've danced around long enough and it's not working. And the regret of my life is that I spent the first Trump term trying to dance around within my constraints. Buffett said, Patrick, when I went to see him, it was like my rabbi, he said, Patrick, just go on television and tell everything. And I just said I couldn't do that, but I went and told enough trying to shape. And I've had enough. We're having insurrection. We have an insurrection going on. People calling, these people calling, and don't you hate how that that they say, well, we're not saying disobey Trump. We're just saying that if he gives you illegal orders, which theoretically, then it's time for you to disobey Trump. So I want to tell people in the military who I know watch your show that theoretically, if you have officers, generals or colonels who try to get you to take part in a color revolution, please kill them for us citizens. Just shoot them in the face. We'll appreciate it. Theoretically.
Like, who says that? No one person doesn't say
what
that.
What a pivot, too. He didn't even finish what he was saying. He just, like, she's like, why are you doing this now? And he says we have an insurrection going on.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't
know, the guy does not come off as sober, but that's besides the point. What I think is really going on here, total speculation, but think of what we believe to be going on behind the scenes. What we're told is going on behind the scenes is that there's this huge investigation into the RICO, and it has to do with everything from like the Spygate stuff, Russiagate stuff, all the way through to what happened while Trump was out of office, the Biden term. If Patrick Byrne played a role in that, you would think that his name would come up in that investigation, right? Does this guy look like he might be panicking, trying to explain his role of some things that he might have done while he was, part of some of these operations? He's trying to get ahead of something. It seems like that. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's not even in the country right now, which is also a little interesting. Like, I'm pretty sure he fled to Dubai or something. He's hanging out with Ian Mills Chong or whatever country that guy's from. It's a little weird. Something sus.
And again, that's assuming what he's saying is true, right? So is what he's saying true? I have no idea about being an intel asset, I mean. But let's say it is true, then yeah, the only thing I can think there is, I mean, why are you talking about being an intel asset and connecting it to all of these negative scandals? Yeah, that's he thinks those are coming back up.
Yeah.
I mean, he thinks he wants to be the one explaining this, but I'll just say that for the record, I don't even understand what he was trying to get at there. So I don't think it was very successful, and I think most people in chat don't understand what he was trying to get at.
Yeah,
I don't think it was that effective.
I don't think so either. And again, at the end of the day, like I don't really care what he's doing. I'm just trying to like recognize the ops, and it's just not often you have somebody come out and admit that you're CIA. And I think the most important part of this is that this is a figure who is very central in the Q community and like our little community, you know what I mean? And I just really want to know why. Like, why is that the case? How did he get put on this pedestal? And does this change your perception of him? Some people I know, like in our audience, are like, yeah, I haven't trusted him this whole time. But there are other people
saying he's been saying stuff like this for years. I don't know, but apparently he's never said he was CIA. So
yeah, I don't think I've never seen him come out and directly say it.
Yeah.
Spencer, another theory based on his past positions is that he also might know something kinetic is coming. Color revolution going hot. Maybe. Ghost of Base Patrick Henry says, Alpha told me it's illegal to pretend to be CIA. It's illegal to be a lot of things. It doesn't stop people, but he's also not even in this country. So is it illegal to accuse somebody of being CIA?
And Q Awakening, said Byrne has nothing to do with Q. Yeah, that's I don't think that's what John meant. It's more some of these figures are raised up by people in the Q community because they talk about inside sources, they've got these connections, whatever. It's easy to fall into these things. We don't know who's good, who's bad, who's white hat, who's black hat. That's why we don't like playing those games anymore. A lot of us at Badlands don't play white hat, black hat anymore. But it's not about the drops. It's about some of these figures that are associated with the truth movement. And I don't know. There's a macro spin out going on in 2025. I was talking about a little bit in our private chat today. CanCon was talking about it as well. And it is strange. It is, you mentioned like Candace Owens and Tim Pool. And again, I'm not making accusations. I don't even have solidified opinion on what's going on. But there is a macro pattern in 2025 of a lot of media figures who are either MAGA adjacent, America First, conservative, or Q community who are spinning out in very strange ways. And I don't know why that is, but it seems like you'd think they'd be riding a high. You'd think like, hey, Trump's in there, the conservative movement's kind of doing well and everything, but there's a lot of people kind of going nuts in that world.
Think of a little game theory here, okay? So you're the enemy, and your biggest threat, and we believe he's the biggest threat based on the actions they've taken against him, is Donald Trump, okay? You're at this crossroad in 2024 where even though you stole it from him in 2020, you probably can't get away with doing it again in 2024. You have come to the conclusion that, okay, we have to let this guy get back into office. But if that's the case, then we are going to have to figure out a way to get through another 4 years of Trump with as minimal damage as possible. And based on how this first year is played out, you have Congress not only like not doing anything, but they literally shut down for like a month and a half. And you've had minimal progress on many of the things, many of the actuals that we were told were coming from his administration. And now you have media distraction after media distraction. And that's like whether it's Con Inc. media or the old guard media or new media or whatever, like everybody's just scissoring right now. It's all one big pile of scissoring. And it feels like everything's at a standstill. And all of it's serving and moving to like delegitimize Trump. This is something like the theme I've been talking about now for about a month now, or maybe less, whatever. These irregular warfare tactics being used against Trump are the same tactics used by Trump's enemies. And so therefore the people pushing that stuff need to be looked at, or at least questioned, like, hey, why are you using these enemies? And I mean, if you were writing a textbook on how to get through a Trump term that you had to like, you know, you had to let him win the election, but you need to protect your system, how do you do it? I mean, if the one guy, maybe not the one guy, but the guy that's like going viral right now, Emerald Robinson, Patrick Byrne, talking about election machines and all these things, just came out and said he's a Fed, and he looks like he's like not sober on camera, and like nobody's going to take that seriously now. I don't know, man. Like there's just this seems to be going according to an anti-Trump agenda plan.
Yeah, if it's a coordinated plan, if there's something connecting some of these media spinouts that we're referencing within the Con Inc. sphere, then it looks like coordination and it looks like an effort to undermine Trump's agenda. I would totally agree with that. We said the last couple of weeks when we were going through the Emerald Robinson thread, what is people get so lost in the details of these deployments, but what was the baseline coming out of that deployment? If you took the foundation of that deployment at face value, it was portraying Donald Trump as somebody who did not know what was going on. And it flew directly in the face of everything Donald Trump has been saying about elections for the last 10 years, or at least since 2020. So we both pointed that out at the time. So if it's coordinated, it's meant to undermine Trump and his agenda. If it's not coordinated, then I think it can still make sense in that a lot of these people have ridden this high based on sensationalism and making predictions within the truth community, within the MAGA core, and some of these figures in particular have sort of portrayed themselves as very plugged in. They've got all these sources. They're these big figures. And since it has been sort of a stagnant year compared to what a lot of us thought 2025 under Trump was going to be, it could simply be the incentive structure pushing these people, these influencers, into these kind of desperate narratives. I mean, who knows what's true and what's not true, but man, Tim Pool's talking about people are coming after him, and Candace Owens can't shut up about people trying to assassinate her, and Byrne's been talking about that for years, and all of a sudden everybody in the media space has assassins on their tails, and it's like, it either is intentionally trying to make the MAGA core look horrible, or it's these people earnestly pushing these narratives for clout.
I don't know. I don't care. I've only been fake attempted like once or twice now. Nowhere near the level of these guys. Yeah. It's all just so dumb. And it's not like it's not beyond me that these people are from the same, or it just feels so much like some sort of controlled opposition dynamic, like weird little thing. Do you notice they are now calling Candace Owens, and Candace Owens is now calling Tim Pool like all the awful things that the left was calling Charlie Kirk when he got killed? Like, do you remember everybody's like celebrating his death and saying all these mean things, and we had to go get all those people fired. Now, all the people that were leading the charge on getting those people fired are saying the same nasty, awful things about each other that we used to get them fired. Isn't that dumb?
What
kind of stuff is
dumb.
that?
I love to see it because I don't know. There's been times that I should say we have been the whole time. We've kind of felt like we're on an island, and there's been times when it's like, man, I said the other day, if I ever felt bad about talking some shit about some of these media figures on a long enough timeline, I never feel bad about it because one of them ends up going after the other one and making the other one look completely ridiculous, or one of them just they op their audience a little too hard. They get a little too dramatic, and then they pretend that they're going to quit. They do the rage quit thing, except they're not going to quit. And the other thing, unrelated to anybody we're talking about, CanCon mentioned this in our chat, and I've thought about it all year. I wasn't thinking about it with some of these figures, but the media space in general, I know there's the narrative that Doge didn't do anything and that Trump hasn't done as much as we thought he was going to do when it comes to dismantling the deep state, right? I like nurturing a pet theory that a lot was done and that these things have a ripple effect, or a lag effect, rather. And I think CanCon mentioned in our chat, USAID money. The administrative state clearly has been a target of Trump's in 2026. We at Badlands have experienced this directly or at least I believe we've experienced this directly. We've had hit pieces written about you, about us, literally by NGOs. And I just find it interesting that NGOs financially, verifiably, are having a really hard time in 2025. You mentioned even Congress being shut down. Like, what does that do? It slows down money. And isn't it kind of interesting that especially in the second half of 2025, all the media space, especially within conservative media that we've been suspicious of for a long time, seem to be freaking the fuck out, threatening to quit, turning on each other, inventing extremely sensational narratives. Like, I don't know. Were they actually making their money off advertising? Is there anything backing these people? I just wonder if money flows have been cut to some of these media organizations.
I have a counterpoint because I don't think they're making less money. I mean, the amount of money these people are making is still astronomical, especially compared to like the money we make. Like, they're making insane amounts of money, and it's all because they're part of the regime, algorithms and on the regime networks and platforms, and they're allowed to like get their views on YouTube and Twitter and whatnot. And I don't know how much you said is funding that stuff, because I mean, how many of these people are just getting direct CIA money, or how many of these people would benefit? If you think of how much money the people that are part of the globalist establishment are, or even like Israel or any of these countries, they're all potentially funding money to these people for various reasons. We don't know which ones are doing it. Like the attacks against us, right? We had NPR, Media Matters is constantly going after us, and then the New York Times, right?
Yeah.
But then also like there's direct lawfare stuff trying to break us up, and those are people supposedly in our movement.
Those are truth community people, John.
Well, yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, so there's multiple fronts, and I think to all this stuff, and we don't know. Some of the groups that we look at is like, okay, you said that's a deep state, entity, and they're funding all these things and these NGOs, and that's where some of this money is coming from. I feel like we would probably have figured out directly if some of those entities are funding some of these agencies already based on like the Form 990s that they have to do. So I don't necessarily know if their money's coming from there. I would guess their money's more so if there is any sort of like nefarious backing, it's probably coming more directly from the CIA and stuff like that, or like Fed groups like that, or directly from you get a billionaire with a company who wants to control somebody and is like a ally to somebody part of the regime. You just get them to buy ad spots on their show.
Well, I would agree with that, and I think USAID I think is more of a template, and I think when it comes to probably not even USAID, but these NGOs, if I'm looking at media organizations like actual papers and stuff, that's when I would probably tie it to NGOs, that probably are funding some of these things. Well, we know some of them are because it's public. You know, we've got places like Media Matters, etc. But I agree with you that when it comes to operators or media figures who are on the take, it probably is direct funding. And the one of the sort of understated advantages of doing that, besides all the how difficult it would be to trace or prove, is it criminal? Is it not criminal? If you're a sponsor of somebody, are you actually committing a crime, right? If you're just like, hey, I didn't tell them what to say, I just gave them all this money. But another layer to that is that as the media figures in question, you don't necessarily, you get a lot of plausible deniability there too, right? So if you're, Con Inc. YouTuber X, and you've just got this really, really generous company that donates to you, and maybe you kind of know their leanings and you know what they want you to talk about, but none of it's in writing. It's not a contract or anything like that. The shielding there, that to your point, it would make sense that that's how you would set those things up, not just money-wise, but even legally, you'd set them up that way.
Yeah. I don't know. And again, I don't know, nor do I care what or where or who is funding Tim Pool or Candace Owens. I see them both as like part of the same distraction psyop, and as well as the same like delegitimization psyop against Trump. And it's a midterm psyop. Anybody talking about anything other than election fraud when it comes to the midterms is a midterm psyop. They are trying to get you to believe that the system is legitimate, and the reason we lost is because of some dumb reason, whatever. Like there's a million of them. I gotta update my thread. I keep forgetting to do that, but there's been so many excuses I've seen flying about why we're losing the midterms. And right now, one of them is like the base has been fractured and nobody's voting because Candace Owens and Tim Pool are at each other's throat. Like, give me a fucking break.
Yeah.
It makes no logical sense whatsoever. But this is what they do. And it makes perfect sense when you think of a delegitimization op against Trump and a stalling op against Trump, which has been this entire first term. And now that we're getting more direct action from Congress against Trump's agenda, that stated agenda, all we need is the filibuster, all these things. Like there's just so many stupid things going on. And while it's like, while I'm saying that, like all these stupid things going on, there's literally nothing going on. Nothing is happening. We're at a standstill. It feels like we're frozen in time, just waiting for the next hammer to drop. But literally nothing is happening. It's the same old drama. It's the same old stories. Nothing is changing. And it's just, and again, I do a show every single day. I saw somebody in the chat like bitching because at the beginning of the show I said, oh, well, if you're just going to complain about not wanting to talk about anything, why even do a show? Like I do a show every single day to get on air and talk. I do a show every 5 days a week, just my show. I do a Monday night show, a Wednesday night show, a Friday night show, a Saturday night show. I'm on 9 times a week, sometimes more if there's special coverage, which those are few and far between now. But like, there's nothing new to talk about anymore. The past week and a half, every one of my shows has been like, well, there's nothing exciting going on. The most exciting thing that's happened probably in the last month has been the national security strategy.
Yeah, which was great.
Which is a document.
But that also, to your point though, it makes me think, sorry for my voice, guys, it is what it is.
Yeah, you can't help it. It sounds gay. It just is.
Yeah.
That way. It's born that way.
So it's all that dick, It gets you. It catches up with you.
Yeah.
This is hopium, but I kind of believe it. We've been following Trump in this community for a long time, obviously for a decade, but in the context of an info war, we've been following him for years. And what you didn't mention the word tonight, but a lot of what you're talking about here with these strategies to undermine Trump during this term, we referred to it as hibernation theory. Before the 2024 election. So hibernation theory would be what they would do. They'd try to outlast Trump. I totally agree with you that now that we're ramping up toward the midterms, there's some undermining ops going hot. Well, it's kind of interesting to me to reverse engineer what we have perceived in this audience, many of us, as less forward momentum out of the Trump administration than we thought going into the year, right? I still feel good about it. I think the national security strategy and Monroe Doctrine stuff was signal. All the economic stuff you and I talk about a lot, the switch theory in particular, there's a lot of movement on that for 2026, a lot of real movement. The modular reactors, a lot of the stuff General Quast talks about, like that stuff's all happening, and I feel really good about 2026. But if I'm looking for like a secondary reason of why 2025 has kind of been this stall period, I wonder if Trump has allowed this in order to draw this kind of stuff out and allow for this sifting. We talked about at our last conference in Florida, friction has kind of become the theme of 2025. Mm-hmm. And it's not, we're talking about it in the media space right now, but let's get rid of that, because in the context of the average American, they don't give a fuck about Candace Owens or Tim Pool or us on this podcast. Like your average unplugged normie, they're not listening to any of this stuff. So that's not what they're perceiving as the sort of tense period. But on a macro, the nation is tense. Whether it's, the conservatives are all tearing themselves apart over Israel. You've got liberals tearing themselves apart over whether or not they're communists. You have all this sifting going on that we've been talking about all year. And it really makes me wonder if part of like the holding back the buttons on the switch and like full charge, full speed ahead, Operation Warp Speed and all this, is that they want some house cleaning happening. Trump and them want like, yeah, let's see what happens. It's like the boil the frog analogy, except in a good way. Usually when we use that analogy, we're thinking like that's what the deep state did to the American people. Maybe Trump has done that to sort of the conservative movement. We've certainly floated for a while on these shows the idea that he's really been taking aim at the GOP and at Republicans when he used to concentrate on Democrats. And I think maybe some of that is playing out even in the media space, where Trump is just like, I know it's cliche, but appear weak when you're strong. He seems totally comfortable all the time lately, despite the narrative being that Trump is losing touch with his base. So he's just, maybe he's just allowing some of these figures that built their reputations on the back of his movement to just fully expose who they are, undermine him before the election, and then he comes right out in 2026 and has a fucking banner year, Fed chair swapping out, all the stuff we talk about every week.
Yeah, that's an interesting thought. I mean, you talking about the GOP, he already destroyed the Dems or whatever. We say that. Next target is the GOP, the rhinos. It's a uniparty, right? Yeah. But then an offshoot of that, like if the mainstream media, the media is the enemy of the people, that's the real enemy. Con Inc. and like all these Twitter influencers and all these people, like they're part of that enemy too. Like, and it's not necessarily that, I'm not saying everybody is in that mix, but like,
yeah.
At some point, we need to learn to think for ourselves instead of allowing these people to think for us. That's what so many people do. They like sit down in front of their TV and the computer. They unplug themselves and like just take their brain out and give it to the TV and be like, tell me everything I need to know.
Yep.
And then they
put it back in. Or a specific figure.
Yeah, or whoever it is. And it's just very, I don't know, it's at some point, like you'd think the behavior would change, especially after everything we've gone through and how many lies and psyops and like, and I'm not talking about the normies. You're right. The normies don't give a shit. My text group right now, all we're talking about is Phillip Rivers and how old he is. And yet somehow he is the choice to come out of retirement while he's getting named to the Hall of Fame ballot. Like this is his first year of eligibility. He's coming out of retirement to be the Colts quarterback. It's hilarious, but I would take him over JJ McCarthy for sure.
If you're going to do that, just put Brady back in there.
Exactly. And who knows? Brady probably will come out of retirement. But anyway, this is where that's what people care about. Like they're not in the weeds like we are, but for those of us in the weeds, and this goes back to what we said at Guard, and it's not necessarily about waking up the normies anymore, and it probably hasn't been for a while. It's about getting the people who are woken up to take that next step because it's required of us. Yet we refuse to do it. We sit here and we cheer for these people that we've never met in real life, and only because Eric Daughtry on Twitter is like, oh my God, look at the smackdown this person just did for this person. Like, what? Like, who cares? Who cares?
You better watch your slatterness use of the royal we in this context.
Whatever, you did it for me.
How dare you?
Earlier.
I know, I'm allowed to do it. Speaking of, did you see the short Trump Fuentes clip? The clip about Fuentes Tucker? Because it's perfectly in line with what you're saying. And it may lend credence to what I'm saying about Trump. This was a few weeks ago, But this was in the context of Fuentes going on Tucker Carlson, and just listen to Trump's response to this and forget Fuentes and Tucker Carlson. Think of this whole sifting going on and what Trump thinks about it.
Yeah.
Carlson could play in the Republican Party, the conservative movement going forward.
Well, I found him to be good. I mean, he said good things about me over the years. I think he's good. We've had some good interviews. I did an interview with him. We had 300 million hits. You know that. Look, I can't tell him. Will you let me finish my statement? You are the worst. You're with Bloomberg, right? You are the worst. I don't know why they even have you. We've had some great interviews with Tucker Carlson, but you can't tell him who to interview. I mean, if he wants to interview Nick Fuentes, I don't know much about him, but if he wants to do it, get the word out. Let him, people have to decide. Ultimately, people have to decide.
Your telephone dinner with Nick Fuentes at Mar-a-Lago a few years ago. What role should he play in the conservative movement?
Well, I didn't know he was coming, and he was with, as you know, somebody, Kanye. And Kanye asked if he could have dinner, and he brought Nick. I didn't know Nick at the time. And he did. He came, and along with a few other people. He brought a few people with him. Meeting people, talking to people, like for somebody like Tucker, that's what they do. People are controversial. Some are, some aren't. I'm not controversial, so I like it that way.
I mean, there's a few things there. The main thing is just, again, the people have to decide. And I'm not saying that was the whole plan going into 2025. I think the actual plans for the administration, economy, military, joint economic projects we've been talking about, peace deals, trade deals. I think all that stuff, if it's not done, it is decided. It's decided from the American perspective of what we're going to do. And as we've all been talking about for the last week, it's essentially laid out that way in that tone in Trump's national security strategy, right? I mean, a lot of that is talking about trade. And so Trump is basically saying, we already know what we're doing. We know what direction we're going in. So all this superfluous stuff in the media that's been driving us crazy, and I know has been driving our audience crazy and everything, I think the Trump administration, and I'd applaud them for it, has really taken, or Trump himself has taken this hands-off approach to it. And maybe even one step further than hands-off, it's almost like he's encouraged the conflict and been like, yeah, fight about it. I don't know. You guys figure it out. At some point, as you said, you've got to figure it out. Trump is telling you that himself. So, if it hurts anybody's feelings that we are not trusting what a self-described CIA asset says about what Trump should do, I would say that we're maybe following what Trump is actually saying.
Yeah, and I'm not choosing a side in the Poole Owens fight either. I do not care.
Yeah, that's
I hope
the gayest controlled oppo dynamic I've ever seen.
I hope they both succumb to their wounds from that fight thing. not real, metaphorically succumb to their wounds. Yeah. The whole thing is so dumb. Not paying attention to it. Yeah. What else is there? I feel like I had more on the Patrick Byrne thing, but I'm talked out. I think we've talked that Fed.
Yeah.
To death.
The Europe thing I wanted to touch on because
but this is going to be exciting or is it going to be gay?
It's nothing new, but what is funny this week?
It's going to be gay.
Yeah, it's gay, but it's gay, but it's good. It's
good
gays. I mean, look at how the media is framing this.
Yeah, nothing new.
Trump's new Cold War with Europe. By the way, I think it was Sunday night. I had once again pointed out a pincer between Trump and Elon Musk on the EU, and the media is picking up on that. So Elon said the EU should be abolished. So open hostilities with the European Union. You've got the media having to defend the fact that Zelensky won't hold elections, which is pretty funny. NATO ally says Trump's U.S. poses a security threat now.
Yeah, this is all fallout from the national security strategy.
Yeah.
They are freaking out that he's finally he's not mincing words. He's not.
Yeah.
The United States no longer has Ukraine in their Facebook profile picture. This is F you guys. Yet we are giving them from Congress $800 billion over the next 2 years, which is hysterical.
Yeah.
But they are freaking out.
Well, and in this, I had managed to read this, part of this before we went live that I mentioned before the show. This is in the Wall Street Journal. The U.S. blueprint to rewire economies of Russia and Ukraine sets off clash with Europe. Undisclosed appendices detail Trump administration's plan to unlock frozen Russian funds held in Europe and bring Moscow in from the cold. So if you read that quickly, you might think like, man, this is more bullshit. This is more money. It's talking largely about reconstruction efforts in Ukraine. At a glance, it might look like, well, we're just giving them more money and we're taking seized Russian assets. The reason the media and the Europeans are so pissed about it is because buried in the Trump proposed plan is basically him saying like, yeah, you're going to use the seized Russian assets to reconstruct the parts of Ukraine that have been damaged, which, guys, that's Russia. That's Russia. That's going to be Russia. Nobody's talking about that part of it. The parts of Ukraine that need to be built, that need to be reconstructed, are going to be Russian. And then the second part of that is he wants to eliminate all sanctions. After that happens, and after that's agreed, he wants to eliminate all sanctions on Russia, renormalize relations with Europe, energy, trade, all of that kind of stuff, bring Russia back in from the cold. And Europe, I've been saying this all year, I think Trump is slow rolling this narratively because he's making it emphatically clear that the Europeans are not here to have any sort of good faith negotiation. They don't want any sort of like mutually beneficial thing going on with Russia. They want to keep a proxy war going on in perpetuity. And buried in the appendices, the Europeans and the mainstream media in the US are telling you themselves is that, yeah, we're going to reconstruct the Donbass. The Russians are going to pay for it. And then we're going to have normalized relations with them, whether Europe likes it or not.
Yeah, I want to point out the things that were interesting in the NDA, which again hasn't been passed yet, so we'll see what happens. I think Trump should go against it just because of all the bullshit in here. But this is one of them that I thought was interesting, having to do with what you just spoke about: extension of prohibition on availability of funds relating to sovereignty of the Russian Federation over internationally recognized territory of Ukraine. There's this weird flex that the Democrats are trying to do right now. Let me see if I can find this thing they put out. Yeah, it's right here. Hold up for processing. So this passed the House, and this is what the Democrats are bragging about. They here, authorizing the Ukraine Security Assistance Initiative at $400 million in 2027 and $400 million in 2020. So 2026 and 2027, which is kind of bullshit if you think about it. This is supposed to be funds for the year 2026, the NDAA for the fiscal year of 2026, and they're including 2027 in there. So they're almost guaranteeing post-conflict funds for Ukraine, which I think is BS.
Yeah.
Authorizing funding for Baltic security, placing restrictions on the ability. Oh, that's not the one. Here we go. Restricting the ability to recognize Russian sovereignty over the internationally recognized territory of Ukraine. So it's like, hey, here, Trump, we know we're in the middle of this peace negotiations, and we know that part of that negotiations has Russian territory, which formerly belonged to Ukraine or whatever. Like, they're basically trying to interfere in Trump's negotiations. I don't know how this could stand. And they're also putting stuff in here where if Hegseth doesn't hand over video evidence of the bombings of these terrorist boats or narco boats or whatever they are, that he doesn't get all of his travel budget or something for the year. Like, there's just stupid stuff in here. But yeah, the Ukraine one I think is most interesting. Them trying to prepare for post-conflict time period in this bill. It's kind of funny to see him do it.
Yeah, you even had the Pope jump in today. It was quoted by Politico saying that he doesn't want Trump to threaten to break up Europe. And again, all of this stuff is so funny because it's like, what do you mean break? How is Trump going to break up Europe? Oh, is it because Europe isn't a real place with any real power and none of these are real countries with any real power projection? Because their power projection has been us the whole time. That's why I get like a dark amusement of all these Europe headlines, because it's the same humiliation ritual. This is a good humiliation ritual in my view. We've been subject to them as the American people on behalf of the globalist deep state and other countries for decades. And now, whether you're Canada or Mexico or Europe, it's time for your humiliation ritual. And part of that is understanding that we, the American people, have literally backstopped everything you are since the close of World War II, which means you're not real countries. And now they're kind of finding that out.
Yeah, Ghost put, or is either Ghost or Spence, I don't remember who, probably Ghost since it's the RT article, put this in the chat. U.S. lawmaker pushes for withdrawal from NATO. It's Thomas Massey, so him putting anything forth probably means it's probably a negative indicator, probably means it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
But it is interesting that this is definitely, this was kind of the theme of that national security strategy. It was the undertone.
Mm-hmm.
And this is something we've been talking about on Badlands for a long time now. I mean, I have had posts, trying to find it, going back April 4th of 2024. Ukraine will join NATO just in time for Trump to get back into office and withdraw from it. Like, we've been talking about the withdrawal from Ukraine for a couple of years now. Yeah. And I do think that's going to happen eventually. Like, with the Sovereign Alliance, the logical conclusion to how this story ends would be us eventually withdrawing from NATO. And I think at that point, the mainstream media would probably implode. Like, I think that.
Yeah, well, and I'll use a little Chris Paul inspiration, the informational time travel type of perspective or informational timeline. I would argue de facto right now, on the back of that national security strategy and just the way the United States has been behaving, both during the Biden era and the Trump era, is that NATO doesn't exist right now. I know that technically the organization exists. They say they exist. But what is the point of NATO? That NATO was ostensibly supposed to stop everything that Russia is doing, and they haven't stopped any of it. They haven't gotten involved directly in any of it either, besides sending, whatever clandestine operators they've been sending into the Donbass for the last few years. They don't exist as is. And they know they don't exist as is. Trump has basically just said, it might not be as dramatic as Trump withdrawing from NATO. I think that probably will happen. It might more be a recognition. That's why I really shifted in the last few months to saying, I think that the NATO collapse narratively is going to come from within. The countries I'm looking at is Hungary and Slovakia, could be Poland, could be Germany. If you want a real big narrative, it would be the AfD, winning a fake election in Germany and pulling them out of the block, which would essentially mean it doesn't exist as well. But that thing's going to crumble because it's being revealed as a house of cards. It's being revealed as what was NATO? The U.S. military. The threat of the U.S. military was NATO. The petrodollar was NATO's sanctions powers. And they don't have either of them because Trump is controlling, the Americans are controlling our own economy and dollar, weaponizing it or not in the way we see fit. And devolution-wise, obviously our military has been probably, if there's any full control on the game board at all that I'm most confident in, it would be the United States military. Whatever they do as part of operations is either Trump directing it or not. And NATO knows that they don't have them. So what do they have? They have nothing else.
Yeah, nothing. I agree with you there. I think we should probably go through some rants because I think we got some good topics in there that we asked for at the beginning. And
cool.
And let me just see here. I'm gonna check for other spots. No, I'm gonna play I do have to pee a little bit, so I'm gonna play our Christmas soft disclosure ad, and then we'll get right into that. So be right back.
Soft disclosure just dropped new favorites for the season. The lotion, your 5-ounce favorite, is still here. And now we've added full 11-ounce bottles. New lavender tea tree deodorant, clean, calm, and effective. New tallow bars, chamomile lemon rose, and naked. Rich moisture that actually works. And now the lineup is complete. Beard oil in unscented and spiced vanilla. Palo lip balms, available in chamomile mint, vanilla, naked, and vanilla tangerine. Halo Bar Minis for pocket-ready hydration. Available in vanilla coffee and naked. And finally, lavender vanilla lotion. Clean, calm, and made to work. Visit softdisclosure.com. Use code Badlands and get 15% off. Soft Disclosure, for truth you can gift.
Oh my goodness. What do we do now? This is a disaster.
What'd you say about me?
Nothing. I actually did, and I wasn't quick on the draw there. I could have said plenty. I think it was the audience understood.
Well, what'd you say? I can always just rewind it. So don't
Nothing.
make me do that.
I was looking at something.
Oh. Well, let's do the boost quick first, then we'll get into the rants. Oh, by the way, guys, don't forget to get your co-founder shirts, merch on the website. It's freaking awesome. Badlandsmedia.tv/co-founder. Share my screen here if it works for me. There we go. You can get your co-founder merch.
Legally binding, right?
Yep. Gives you a full option to sue, but the suit does come separately. Like you have to initiate that yourself.
Right.
But
Exactly.
But yes, it does give you that entitlement. Also, real quick, before we actually do the boost, I want to show you guys this weekend. I'm going to be in Kansas City for a couple different things. First up, I'm going to be speaking at this event here. Not speaking, I guess, hosting. Lead promoter.
Roast.
Lead Q promoter of this Kansas Reckoning event or something. New York Times will probably write about it, so you'll get the recap, but it won't be aired live. But if you're in the area, you guys should come hang out. I probably am going to roast some people, including Matt Gates. I got to figure out what I'm going to say still, so I'm going to do that tomorrow. But this will be a good time. And then that's Saturday. And then Sunday, before I head back home, we're doing a meetup in Overland Park. And you guys should come to that as well. From 12 to 3, Overland Park. If you want to come, you got to email mocanbadlanders@protonmail.me, or you can reach out on Telegram to Lynn Yoda, @Lynn and she'll let you know where it's at. Keep the riffraff out. It should be a good time.
Good stuff. Our audience is comprised of riffraff, though. That's their secret.
Miss Rhea Freedom Fighter says, if I get the shirt, am I really a co-founder, or are you lying to me? If you get the
you
t-shirt,
have to sue to find out.
No, we will call you a co-founder, and you will have just as much legal co-foundingness as anybody else we've ever called co-founder. So
right.
You'll be on the same level as all previous co-founders.
And
you'll look
this person
awesome
didn't leave a name. They left as in the place of their name. They put a message, but they sent $300 to the whole company as a boost.
Ooh,
and just said, want to support your cause. You want to support your company and the cause. So much appreciated to whomever that was. Yeah, that's an option as well, guys. If you just want to leave a boost for Badlands, you can do that. 1027JS sent $20 and said, is it spring yet? I know this winter feels like it's going to be long.
Have you even gotten snow where you're at?
No, because we've gotten sick.
We've gotten some rough snowfall already. Like, I'm honestly not even 100% sure I'm going to make it to the Kansas events because of the snow, but I'm going to do my best, see what happens, although I have no control over it. Yeah, it's been rough. But anyway, thank you, Joe, my fellow North Dakotan. Appreciate Joe.
All right, we're caught up on booze.
Oh, man. Patrick Manuel, don't want to be a co-founder, a bro founder maybe. That's hilarious.
Co-founder.
We need those too. We need shirts that say that.
like
Co-founders and bro founders. That's hilarious. Let's do
bro
some
founders before co-founders. Co-founders.
Bro founders before co-founders.
How about a ho-founder? Bro founders and ho-founders.
Oh, that's so funny. Rants. We got Melindy for $5. Says half non-doomery stories. Babies of 2025 tell a story on immigration. Birth data confirms mass deportations. I do like hearing that our mass deportations are going according to plan. Look at that. North Dakota's almost... Oh, never mind. Is that good or bad? Is North Dakota up on this chart? I was like, green. Oh, we're different from the whole nation. Why are we up?
Going in the wrong direction.
They're probably Canadian.
Canadians?
There. Yeah. So I don't know if
Canadians sneaking down there.
Just to have the babies, those anchor babies.
Look at Maine.
Yeah, what's going on there?
Canadians. Jeez. Freaking grubby little hockey puck sliding goons. That's what they are.
That's what they are.
That's what they are. Real intense insult.
Another non-doomery story, monthly voter registration update from Seth. And I believe this is Seth Kesh, I'll confirm here, but he's also going to be at the MoCan Kansas Reckoning event with Matt Gaetz. And I mean, the voter registration stuff, like, I don't know. I like Seth. I like his work. He's smart. He's really, he knows his stuff. It's just hard for me to like fully engage with it because of the fraudulent election system. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not trying to knock Seth in the slightest. So just, it's hard for me to engage with election related stuff like that when I believe the entire election system is fraudulent.
I can get it from the perspective of somebody who gets into like genre fiction, and people will be like, why are you analyzing a fictional show? And I'm like, well, I'm really into the story of the fictional show.
Yeah.
So people that are really into the story of fictional elections, could have a lot of detailed opinions on an entirely fake thing.
And I could if the numbers we see with that are real, like trends having to do with the voter registration, like that could be a good trend to look at. But then you also look at Miami, like what we just heard this week. Miami, Florida flipped a mayoral whatever seat that's been red for 30 years and signals doom for the midterms. Freaking Miami. Like, of course they're going to steal election there. Well, thank you for sending that, Melindy. Nancy K. Reese, Massey did an interview on Redacted a few minutes ago and used the word bicameral. He and Luna want to make a bill to get the U.S. out of NATO. Can I get an una panuna banca? Thomas Massey.
Una panuna banca.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of Massey. You guys know that. I'm also not a huge fan of Una. Did you see she felt herself becoming irrelevant, and so she went on TV and talked to aliens with somebody. I think that was today or yesterday.
Talked to aliens with somebody or about aliens?
I don't know if I want to. I don't want to get it wrong. So let me just find the clip before I besmirch anybody. And so here's the thing. I don't know if this is even legitimate, but it's from Night Sky Now News, and they're sharing this clip. I'm assuming this is today.
You're on the record talking about, quote, non-human life forms that could be interdimensional beings who are visiting us. Can you just explain more to people at home what that might mean?
Yeah, so that's definitely a mouthful, but that is directly based on information that we've received from witnesses, also information that we have obtained and witnessed via our investigations. There's some stuff that I can't disclose of what I have immediately seen in some of these skiffs, but what I will tell you is this is not just some crazy conspiracy theory. Obviously, there's been massive reporting, not just in the United States, but around the world. And this is something that I think everyone kind of, has always had some curiosity about. We're just simply asking the questions.
If only we had a task force that could get all this classified information out there.
I just don't care about aliens. It's just not. It's not cool.
I just think it's funny. Nance just read that. Counterinsurgent, watching Patrick Byrne in these interviews makes me think the catamaran was pretty well loaded with cocaine. That's a great comment.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's lucky we weren't shooting
down. A
down
or some cocaine,
He was lucky Trump wasn't shooting down narcotic boats at the time of that catamaran, because you never know. Susie Q20. What?
I'm just picturing like those, black and white grayed out targeting systems. You just see Patrick Byrne in his hair, just throwing Una Panuna overboard and
he's got the
diving in it. Save the fucking Coke, Una.
He's got the mariachi band, the Three Musketeers of the mariachi band on there playing.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. But do you think they'd shoot that boat twice? You think they'd come back around and shoot it twice?
They just send a warning shot.
No. It is a catamaran. See, if you look at the catamaran, you could do a direct hit on a catamaran would not incapacitate the boat, because a hole in the center of that boat, you'd have to hit the side.
It'd just become two boats.
Yeah. So
two canoes, pretty much.
It'd be ineffective.
Right. And I like that.
Watch. We're going to start to see these narcotic boats use catamarans.
Yeah.
And when they do, we'll know.
They just break apart and go in opposite directions. I'm like, damn it. And Hegseth will just be so mad. Like, if only I could authorize another strike.
All the technology in the world.
But I already did.
The things that defy the things that defy the most advanced technological like defense departments in the world are flying go-karts and catamarans. That's going to be it.
That's it. Well, yeah, if it foiled the IDF, then what chance do we have? Was Captain Phillips loosely based on the exploits of Patrick Byrne?
I don't know.
We don't not know. We might as well just say it was.
What was the time frame of that? And I mean, wasn't that guy Somalian? I've actually, to be honest, I've never seen the movie. I've just seen
Captain Phillips was not Somalian. He
well,
was
that guy
taken over by Somali pirates, which may be connected to the Somalis in Minnesota.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Was that some soft disclosure on the incoming Somalian invasion?
It could.
Which is funny. I've been
This is
bitching
all
about
connected.
Somalians in my area in Minnesota for like 10 years. Now it's the cool thing. Everybody's talking about it.
I just call them blacks, but you know,
Yeah.
I have been bitching about them for a long time.
Yeah, that is what it is.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll keep going here. Flynn is no good either. One CIA, always CIA. I don't know. I would say just if you don't know these people personally, don't trust them. They're clearly running psyops.
Yeah,
and some of them are clearly lying to us. So I don't know why we'd necessarily trust that it's for benevolent reasons. The final man knew Byrne was full of shit years ago when he gave a live interview claiming he was target sitting in front of a window with his back to curtains open in the city in Switzerland at night. I'm a target, but you know.
Yeah.
Come and shoot me, whatever. Valseco 16. So Patrick Byrne was a honey trap, and he might not know it when it comes might not have known it when it comes to Trump world.
That seems to be vaguely what he is saying.
Or now he is the community, us, is saying he did know.
Open to interpretation.
I don't think we'll wait till chapter 3 comes out and try to determine the story then.
I think this whole story was illegal for us to comment on because we didn't invite
Emerald Robinson
on to discuss it.
Well, I don't think she's finished her thread yet. And so maybe when her thread is done, we'll know what agency he worked for and whether he was knowingly or unwittingly, whatever, doing shit he shouldn't have been. Red Pill American 21. Patrick Byrne CIA is not a surprise. His interview 5 years ago about setting up HRC blackmail scheme on behalf of Obama made it easy to draw that conclusion. Seems this is a start of a whistleblower op. I don't know about that. But then they gave a link. So let's see. Because the more recent revelation is him helping to set up Russia collusion or something.
I know what's in the Durham report, and I'm going to say it here. I bribed Hillary Clinton $18 million. I facilitated a bribe for Hillary Clinton on January 14th, 2016, right here in this town. On behalf of the FBI, they came to me around December 1st, 2015. They told me Hillary Clinton had accepted a bribe from Turkey for $20 million. They told me that I would be working in New York, FBI agents who had authorization to set Hillary up in a sting. They asked me to facilitate a bribe for her, an $18 million bribe from another.
Did you hear the audio while it was playing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Government. The bag man from that other government was, I was to befriend, and I was to get that person 10 minutes alone in a room with Hillary Clinton.
So if this is mentioned in the Durham report, if it is, it's this part. Foreign election influenced by a foreign government. In addition to advising the FBI on foreign influence efforts by foreign government too, CHSA also provided information to the FBI about reported election influence efforts targeting the Clinton campaign in November of 2015 and possibly Trump campaign in March 2016 by a different foreign country. This is probably Russia, maybe. Insider One, who's known to the FBI to have foreign intelligence and criminal connection, had solicited CHSA to set up a meeting with candidate Clinton because Insider One wanted to propose something that CHSA understood to be campaign contributions on behalf of a foreign government. All this information pertained to a foreign influence threat from a different country. The handling agent for CHSA continued to work this threat under the existing counterintelligence case for the threat CHSA reported regarding foreign government too. blah, blah, blah. They sought access through him to the Clinton campaign fundraising event. So I'm assuming that's what he's talking about. But that's FBI. That's not new. That's not, I mean, maybe not surprised, but yeah, CIA, whatever. We'll keep going. I'm going to read that later, though. Final demand. Obvious at this point, Patrick Byrne is a master penetrator. The root penne is Latin for penis, and traitor for wide-eyed guilty panic. Believe me, bro, BS. It's possible penetration tests were his idea. I don't remember why, but on my show yesterday or the day before, we were talking penetration tests. I don't remember why. If somebody could remind me. But then I got into this weird, like, sexual innuendos. It was hilarious, of course. But yeah, I appreciate that. Micro Toolmaker for $55 says, where we go, one we go all. Thank you, sir. Good to see you, man. Hope that the shoulder's doing well. Poster for Hope. At I'm your moderator, Money Co-founder Fund. Is there
a fund for Chris?
Is that a legal fund? Or a co-founder fund?
Gonna need a little more than that.
Yeah. Miss Rhea Freedom Fighter. If I get the shirt, am I really co-founder or are you lying to me? I addressed that earlier. But yes and no. True Deplorable.
Ask the local lawyers at your local strip mall.
True Deplorable. There are good people in this fight for all the right reasons. Just read the intro to Laura Logan's guest. The interview and documents reveal so much. Although long, it's a must-watch for everyone. And then Timothy Schindler. I haven't watched this yet, but I've had a couple people send me that, so maybe I'll have to check that out. And then Keith O'Higgins says, John, you should have Badlands Media make and market a portable piss bottle to market to busy Amazon workers. Call them soft dispersals. That's clever, Keith. I like it. There we go. That's all the rants, man.
All right. Figured it all out.
Should we just watch the rest of this Patrick Byrne thing for the outro?
I guess. I mean, it's cringy.
I got nothing else. Yeah. Unless you got something better.
Nah.
Okay. Well, then we're going to do it. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Appreciate you. Hit the thumbs up. Give us a follow. I'll be back on tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern on the Daily Herold.
We have Ash just sent in a rant.
Based on my research, Patrick Byrne's biggest champions are conservative boomer white women, which is weird because he's never been conservative. Hard sellers, though.
That's a lot of MAGA characters base.
Yeah.
So, and they will defend their characters like no other.
Isn't that interesting? Anyway, guys, hit the thumbs up, give us a follow, and we'll see you next time we see you. You guys have a good rest of your evening. If this does get cringy, I may end this early.
Yeah. I will have Jonathan Drake on the narrative on Sunday night.
Nice get.
We'll talk about some stuff.
Awesome. Cool.
Yeah.
Sounds good. See you later, man.
I did on January 14th, 2016. Hillary Clinton was in this town and she met in a way that was kept off her schedule. She accepted an $18 million bribe. But General Barr knows this. This is the Durham. They know this was what is behind it all. And I'll even tell you, I'm going to drop one more thing. I've been waiting to say this publicly, and this is what really happened. I will tell you, if you hear this and you give me 90 seconds, your viewers will understand what's happened in the last 5 years in America. I've been waiting to say this on mainstream TV, and they will not have me back because once they understood what this was about. I had Hillary Clinton. I caused Hillary Clinton. I facilitated a bribe, and she took a second bribe for $18 million. And I worked with the FBI as I did that. They're deeply involved in this. They came to me 3 days later and told me I had to forget about it and forget that it ever happened. And I said, what are you talking about? And they gave me one excuse. They said, Hillary's going to win, and it's been decided upstairs. Nothing's going to be able to stop that now. So she's going to win, and she's going to send her people over to the FBI and ask who was part of investigating Hillary, and any of us who were part of it are going to be destroyed, and that includes you too, Patrick. And so this mission has been scrubbed from the highest level. And I thought about that, and I said, yes, sir. And I came, but 2 or 3 weeks later, I was back with 3 federal agents this time. 3 federal agents. And I let them know that wasn't sitting, and this is in Salt Lake City, Utah, and that wasn't sitting well with me. And I'd like to know why we had almost a year before the election. They could have had me and another person in front of a grand jury in a week and gotten her indicted. And they told me, and this is the key to understanding what's happened in America. They told me, this is word for word, Patrick, what's really going on is this: President Obama has his people across the federal bureaucracy at this point, but especially the Department of Justice. Hillary Clinton is going to be president for 8 years, and nothing's going to change that. But think of there being a Bunsen burner within the Department of Justice. That evidence about the 2 bribes you were part of gathering is going to be sitting on the Bunsen burner. And the hand on the Bunsen burner is going to be one of Barack Obama's people. If Hillary's a good girl and defends Obamacare, that flame stays low. If she's a bad girl and thinks for herself, it's going to get turned up high. That way, Barack Obama is going to manage Hillary Clinton for the 8 years she's president. Then she's going to step down and Michelle's going to run. And Patrick, that's the plan.
That is a crime. People should be arrested.